All right. Hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Global Tribunal of Women Workers. And this is our third day, or no, actually, fourth day. I'm from. So I guess I'm pretty sure that by this time, some of you who are in the sessions are already aware of what is actually the a global tribunal, but in case you haven't, so maybe this is the first sessions that you actually join. That's okay. And this is basically, so right now we are in the middle of our fourth CSO-led discussions, which is a forum where our collaborators can give more context the uh, to the discussion surrounding the thematic issues that the global tribunals are currently discussing right now. So on our fourth day, currently we are having the freedom of association, collective bargaining, and also right to unionizations as our thematic area that we have been listening since this morning, I think, which is for me, which is in the evening and like for the whole day. So I think before we formally started the discussion, I just would like to share a short housekeeping uh, so we can understand what are the house rules or the housekeeping rules within the CSO-led discussion sessions right now. Since this is a virtual event, which is as we all can see that right now we are in the Zoom meeting account. So let's just go through the virtual housekeeping right now. So I think it is a very important for us to be able to support each other to create a safe virtual space, which ERA Asia Pacific is committed to making this an inclusive and safe digital environment and will not tolerate harassment of any kind, including but not limited. All right, so I keep being muted. Is this all right? Um, sorry, including but not limited to deliberate intimidation and sustained disruptions of discussion. Participants are obliged to be respectful and refrain from replicating societal prejudices and inequalities. Uh, Participants who engage in disruptive behavior may be muted or removed without prior notice. Next slide, please. And in order for us to be able to support that safe space, so I think it is very important for us to be able to minimize the disruptions itself. So as participants, please turn off your videos and mute your microphones. And if you are experiencing slow bandwidth, please close any unnecessary programs and or applications on your device. And you are free to use the public chat box to engage with one another throughout the sessions. And I would also like to remind everyone that this session is live streamed on Eero Asia Pacific YouTube channel and also Twitter page. And the recording will be available publicly afterward. So that's a short reminder of our housekeeping for today's sessions. Thank you so much, Letty and Paul, for helping me sharing the screen. So before we started, again, I forgot to introduce myself. So let me introduce myself. My name is Vivi. I am currently working with ERO Asia Pacific as program officer and also happen to be one of the a part of the core team of the Global Tribunals of Women Workers itself. So yeah, so hi everyone. Very nice to know that some of you are joining our discussions today. And as you are aware, because this is the third day, sorry, again, I lost track of time, the fourth day of the Global Tribunal when we are going to discuss the freedom association, collective bargaining, and also right to unionization. And in this session right now, we already have actually four, maybe or five amazing speakers, which all of them are our collaborators and also our comrades from the many parts of the global south itself. So right now we have a representative from Garment and Factory Workers Union in Chennai, which I think I'm sure there's Palani and also Sujata that is in this meeting, in this session right now. Maybe Palani, you can just say hi. first to everyone, just to make sure that you're there. Hi, I can see that all of you are waving to the camera. So thank you so much. Hi everyone. Oh, there's a party there. That's amazing. So thank you so much for joining in a very short notice. So I'm very happy that you are here to be able to share the space with us in the CSO-led discussions. And we also have our partners or collaborators from Indonesia. So we have Dian from Indonesian United Workers Union, or FSBPI, or that's how we call it in Indonesia. Hi, Kak Dian, my fellow Indonesian. Hi. Thank you so much for joining us today in this CSO-led discussions. And last but not least, we also have Afrin from Karmojibinari in Bangladesh. Hi, Afrin. Do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hello, I am Afrin. I'm from Karmojibinari. Karmojibinari is a women's rights based organization working from 1991. It is working for support the women workers to get their rights, raising voices, and participate in all movements in Bangladesh. So,
right.
hello.
Hi, thank
Hello,
you so
everyone.
much, Afrin, for joining and for making the time and also joining us in these discussions. So without further ado, I just would like to formally start the discussions, and I would like to give the floor to Palani, Sujata, and everyone else at the in Chennai to start the discussion today. Thank you so much. And Sujata, the floor is yours.
So, good morning, comrades, sisters. Thank you very much for giving Garment and Fashion Workers Union an opportunity to explain our problems, our challenges, and what is the immediate and also the long-term crisis of garment workers in India. Tamil Nadu, where Chennai is the capital city, is one of the biggest hubs of garment manufacturing. Today, we estimate about 10 lakh women are occupied in this occupation across the state in various type of capacities. In Chennai, our union has been working from 2009. Our basic issues were wages, leave, and the kind of harassment and issues that came up. In 2014, for the first time, the minimum wage was announced through our efforts. And when the wage came, there were more than 500 employers who went to the court and got an injunction or a stay order. It took us 2 years to get the injunction removed. Even today, there are companies who have gone to the Supreme Court and continue not to pay minimum wages to their workers. As you can see, in a large country like ours, we are not able to often raise the resources to fight these big court battles. Now, I want to bring to your notice the kind of issues that are for workers in the SCZs, what we call the special economic zones, and in other countries they're called free trade zones. The SCZs in our own state, in our own surrounding area, there are about 4 or 5 SCZs only where garment workers are working. Such similar SCZs exist all over India, and thousands and tens of thousands of workers are working there. So I'm speaking about one SCZ called the Mahindra City SCZ. It is a small zone comparatively, but there are about 8 or 10 factories. One of them is called Slam Clothing Private Limited. SLAM is a company incorporated in Germany, owned by people of Indian origin. They came here in 2005. They set up an industry. They had contracts from Inditex and Zara to manufacture shirts and trousers and things. Our garment workers joined this company, and in 2004-5, the wages was less than 3,000 per month. At the most, they were earning 1,800 to 2,000 rupees in 2005. Over the years, the wages went up very marginally till 2014. The wages were in the range of 3,000 rupees per month, which doesn't work out to even $2 a day. It is less than $2 a day. When our union came and the new wage came, the wage actually almost doubled, came to 7,500 to 8,000 rupees. Today it is 10,000 rupees. Even today, the wage has not been revised from 2014. So you can imagine the kind of struggle our union has, that every time we have to go for wage revision, there are so many court injunctions and so many restrictions that before we remove those, the wage has actually fallen below the cost of living. The wage is only one issue facing the workers. Workers face multiple issues. They have to enter these SEZs from their homes and villages around the city, which sometimes means traveling 100 kilometers by bus. In 2014, the employer stopped all bus services. They used the bus service to ensure that they can control the labor force. If they want to shut the factory, if they want to lay off, if they want to ensure that the workers don't come, they can create havoc in their lives. So one, they use bus services. Two, they use the local police to threaten them. Three, they use their own families and workers' networks in the local area to defame the women, to make them feel insecure, and also they feel that, okay, we are not, if we speak up, our lives, our family, everyone will be affected. So there's a lot of fear. In SLAM clothing, they created all these kind of problems. There were local leaders from the local thugs who were employed as managers. So there was all the time threat that if a woman gets into a kind of a conflict. In 2018, the first lot of women started to unionize and start coming to the union to raise the issue of non-payment of wages, non-payment of the additional new wage, which the union had fought for. That time, when this kind of problems came up, there was one manager who brought up a case of sexual harassment, and the women were being targeted. One particular woman, she was even targeted and kept overnight in the factory. In these circumstances, our union fought for them. We filed cases. However, even though the High Court had ordered an inquiry and setting up of an internal complaints committee in 2018 to 2019, all our struggles were made to naught. We were not able to make any progress on the sexual harassment complaints at all, because both our administration and the SEZ and the employers, they joined together to actually nullify the whole situation. So though we had a High Court order, we could not progress. I am just saying, I'm laying the background in which our union was working. After this, I will give the floor to Palani Bharti, my union to say from the point when in 2020, just before the pandemic, how despite our raising these issues with Zara and Inditex, they refused to help us, and instead I think they made a deal and they withdrew from India. So Slam Clothing gradually closed down the company illegally, and our union was forced to fight a case with the labor department, and the labor department tried in as under the Industrial Dispute Act in India, where the Industrial Dispute Act gives us a possibility of bringing the employer and the employee together to sit before the government, and the government tries to create a tripartite conciliation mechanism. Even that didn't work, and then finally our case went to the tribunal. So I will ask Palani to speak specifically on that. While I say that, I also want to say they lost all the savings and settlement and various things. Today, we have 150 workers who have just lost everything. This is not an isolated case. This is one case that we are representing and have been able to make at least a legal breakthrough. There are hundreds of such women who work all their lives, and all that they get is what they earn that day, and the companies can go close. Today, the same Slam Clothing is producing in Bulgaria. They are still claiming to be producing for big brands like Zara and Mutsiditi and so on their website, and there is still no response from Zara or from anything. So this is my question. This is my thing. I'm going to just ask Palani to intervene.
Good afternoon, all comrades. Thank you so much to see you all. It's very proud of you. Thank you giving to opportunities. My name is Palani Bharati. I am General Secretary of Garment and Fashion Workers Union. So now I start. Actually, I speak only the Tamil. Sujata ma'am translated to all. எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். அதாவது இந்த உலகம் என்பது தொழிலாளர்களுடைய உழைப்பின் அடிப்படையிலேயே சுழன்று கொண்டிருக்கிறது என்பது எல்லாருக்குமே தெரியும். ஆனால் அந்த தொழிலாளர்கள் முறைப்படி பாதுகாக்கப்படுகிறார்களா அப்படிங்கறத வச்சு நான் இந்த ஒரு கம்பெனி வச்சு சொல்லும் போதே உங்களுக்கு எல்லா விஷயங்களுமே புரிஞ்சிடும். ஸ்லாம் க்ளோத்திங் கார்மெண்ட்ஸ் கம்பெனி SCZ ஸ்பெஷல் எக்கனாமிக் ஜோன்ல ஒர்க் பண்ண செங்கல்பட்டு டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட். அந்த டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட்ல இருக்கக்கூடிய ஸ்பெஷல் எக்கனாமிக் ஜோனுக்குள்ளார இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு கம்பெனி பத்தி தான் நான் இப்ப சொல்ல போறேன். ஸ்லாம் க்ளோத்திங் ஆக்சுவலி 2018 வரைக்கும் ஜாரா என்ற மிகப்பெரிய கம்பெனியுடைய பொருட்களை, அதாவது அந்த ட்ரெஸ்ஸஸ் எடுத்து ஸ்டிச் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. ஸோ 2018 பிறகு ஜாரா வெளியேறிய பிறகு அந்த தொழிலாளர்களுடைய நிலை எப்படி இருக்கு அப்படிங்கிற விஷயத்தான் நான் இப்ப சொல்ல போறேன். 2018க்கு பிறகு அவங்க அந்த ஒர்க்கர்ஸ் அந்த கிட்டத்தட்ட 300 தொழிலாளர்களுமே ஜாரா கம்பெனி போனதை தெரியாம அந்த தொழிலாளர்கள் முழுக்க அதுல ஒர்க் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. அந்த தொழிலாளர்களுக்கான PF பிடித்தம் செய்யப்பட்டிருக்கு. அவங்களுக்கான அதாவது அவங்களுடைய சம்பளம் என்பது ஒரு மாசத்துக்கு கொடுக்க வேண்டிய சம்பளம் 2 முறை அதை பிரிச்சு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. சில நேரங்கள்ல ஒரு மாச சம்பளத்தை பின்னாடி அடுத்த மாசத்து கடைசியில கொடுத்திருக்கிறாங்க. சோ இந்த மாதிரி கொடுக்கப்பட்டிருக்கப்ப இடையில தொழிலாளர்கள் எல்லோருமே கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 110 தொழிலாளர்கள் எங்களுக்கு சரியான நேரத்துல நீங்க பேஸ்லிப்ல சொன்ன மாதிரி எங்களுக்கு சம்பளம் கொடுங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு அவங்க கேட்கறாங்க. கேட்டதுக்காக அந்த நிர்வாகம், அதை நடத்தி கொண்டிருந்த நிர்வாகம் என்பது நாங்க கொடுக்கும் போதுதான் நீங்க வாங்கிக்கணும், நீங்க சொல்ற மாதிரி எல்லாம் நாங்க கொடுக்க முடியாதுன்னு சொல்றாங்க. ஆனா இந்த தொழிலாளர்கள் எல்லோருமே கிட்டத்தட்ட 92% workers is only women workers. Mostly the 75 women worker is SC communities. So இவங்க அந்த ஒர்க் பண்ணிக்கிட்டு இருக்கும் பொழுது அவங்களுக்கான அந்த லோன் இதெல்லாம் கட்ட முடியாத சூழ்நிலையில அவங்க தாங்கிட்ட எங்களுக்கு சரியாக சம்பளம் கொடுக்கணும் சரியான நேரத்துலன்னு கேக்குறாங்க.
Palani is saying that I'm going to speak specifically about how Slam Clothing exploited the workers, and what was the modus or what was the system by which they actually kept the workers impoverished and exploited. Uh, First, she says that up to 2018, from 2005, Zara was a direct buyer from this company. But in 2018, after the workers gave complaints, instead of dealing with the complaints, Zara withdrew. After that, the problems of the workers became very, very severe. They did not get paid their wages in time. In a month, they might get paid once in 2 months, or sometimes twice in a month, they would get little bits of money. They had no choice but to continue to working, because this is the company in which they had worked already for 8 or 10 years. And they also had their savings and their, wages and so on being held by this company. They were, even the last month, that is in December and January of 2019 and 20, they were not paid the wages. And when they asked for the wages, they were told that they will be paid when they want. And if they don't want to work there anymore, they may leave. As though they had a free choice for this. So as per the pay slip, they would be paid the wages, but if actually you found in hand, it would be paid only in cash and in some small bits of thing. The second thing that this company did was they did not pay the provident fund to the department. So there was a even if the company closed, there was no way in which they could collect their provident fund money. They were not covered by any other laws, though various deductions were made from their salary to the labor welfare board and so on. Those were not being paid. There was no system by which because it's in an SCZ, there is no system by which we can make complaints to the government of India. And even if we make, the type of legal measures by the government is very nominal. So this is the kind of challenges we were facing in Slam Clothing.
So actually அது மட்டும் இல்ல 13 months பிஎஃப் டிடெக்ட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கு. பட் ஆனா அவங்களுக்கான அந்த பிஎஃப் ஆபீஸ்ல அவங்க கட்டவே கிடையாது. அட்லீஸ்ட் பிஎஃப் ஆவது எடுக்க போகும்போதுதான் அப்பதான் தெரியுது தொழிலாளர்களுக்கு தங்களுடைய பிஎஃப் பணம் 13 மாச பணத்தை வந்து பிஎஃப் ஆபீஸ்ல கட்டலன்ற விஷயம். இது சம்பந்தமாக நிர்வாகத்துக்கிட்ட அவங்க கேட்கும் பொழுது அந்த நிர்வாகம் 110 தொழிலாளர்களையும் வெளியே தள்ளி நீங்க வந்து இனிமே கம்பெனிக்கு வரக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு அவங்களுடைய, அதாவது அவங்க வந்துகிட்டு இருந்த அந்த வேன் டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட்டையும் ஸ்டாப் பண்ணிட்டு, அப்படி இருந்தும் தொழிலாளர்கள் தன்னுடைய எக்கனாமிக்காக.
Okay, so basically there were about 300 workers in this factory, of which 150 came to our union. They came saying that they did not, they were prevented from coming into the factory. The van or the bus which was used to transport them earlier had stopped and they could not reach the venue, the factory. They also said that they also found that their provident fund and so on, which had been deducted over the years, had not been deposited into the accounts. And it's basically a government institution. So the government said that we have not received the provident fund. And so even if they needed urgently money, either because of illness or because of the need to get married or for some urgent need, since they didn't have wages, they had no other way of reaching out to any other savings. It is this, when they came to the union, that the union decided to take this to a tripartite conciliation process. 2 minutes, let me see.
இந்த அடிப்படையில தான் நாங்க யூனியன் கிட்ட எங்ககிட்ட வந்து அணுகுறாங்க. அந்த 110 தொழிலாளர்களுக்கும் வழக்கு ஃபைல் பண்றோம். டிசிஎல் முன்னாடி வழக்கு கொண்டு போறோம். பட் ஆனா அவங்க ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும் பொழுது கம்பெனி நிர்வாகம் எந்த விதத்திலும் அந்த விசாரணையில் கலந்துக்கல. அந்த டைம்ல கொரோனாவும் வந்ததுனால கொரோனாவுக்கு பிறகு எந்த கன்சலேஷனும் நடக்கல. அதன் பிறகு நாங்க கமிஷனர்கிட்ட, இதனிடையில இன்னொரு முக்கியமான விஷயம் சொல்லணும். அந்த போராட்டத்தின் போது அந்த தொழிலாளர்கள் தங்களுக்கு இதெல்லாம் கொடுக்கணும்னு சொல்ல ஒரு கர்ப்பிணி பெண்ணை நிறைமாத கர்ப்பிணி, அவங்களும் வெயில்ல கிட்டத்தட்ட 1 டே ஃபுல்லாவே வந்து வெயில்ல அவங்க உட்காந்து ப்ரொடெஸ்ட் பண்றாங்க. இதனால அந்த குழந்தை வந்து இறந்து பிறக்குது. இது ஒரு சம்பவம். அது மட்டுமல்ல, இந்த பணம் வரலன்னு சொல்லிட்டு இதை நம்பி கொண்டிருந்த தன்னுடைய தங்கச்சிக்கு திருமணம், அதே மாதிரி வேலை செய்த பெண்ணுக்கு திருமணம், அந்த திருமணம் இதனால நடத்த முடியாம அந்த 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 திருமணம் செய்து கொள்ளக்கூடிய அவருடைய அப்பா வந்து சூசைட் பண்ணி இறந்திருக்காரு. சோ இந்த மாதிரி சம்பவத்துக்கு பிறகு நம்மளுடைய தொழிலாளர்கள் வந்த போது நாம தான் டிசிஎல்ல ஃபைல் பண்ணும்போது கொரோனா வந்தது. இதனிடையில தொழிலாளர்கள் எல்லோருமே மிகவும் வறுமையான சூழ்நிலைக்கு தள்ளப்படும் பொழுது நாங்க கலெக்டர்கிட்ட போய் பெட்டிஷன் கொடுக்குறோம். ஆனா கலெக்டர் அதை வந்து கவனிக்காம எங்க மேலதான் எஃப்ஐஆர் போட்டாரு. 144 வந்து நீங்க மீறி இருக்கீங்கன்னு சொல்லிட்டு எங்க மேல எஃப்ஐஆர் போட்டாரு. அதுக்கும் நாங்க பயப்படல. திரும்பவும் நாங்க கமிஷனர் ஆபீஸ்ல போய் இந்த கேஸ் சீக்கிரமா முடிங்க, தொழிலாளர்கள் எல்லாருமே ரொம்ப வறுமையில பாதிக்கப்பட்டு இருக்காங்கன்னு போய் கமிஷனர்கிட்ட கம்ப்ளைண்ட் கொடுத்தோம். கமிஷனரும் அதுக்காக துரிதமாக எந்த ஒரு நடவடிக்கை எடுக்கல. இருந்த போதும் விசாரணை என்ற பேர்ல விசாரிச்சுட்டு நிர்வாகம் ஒரு வாய்தா கூட கலந்து கொள்ளாதனால டிசிஎல் வந்து அதை ஃபெயிலியர் ரிப்போர்ட் போடுறாரு. அதன் பிறகுதான் நாங்க ட்ரிபுனலுக்கு, இண்டஸ்ட்ரியல் ட்ரிபுனலுக்கு கொண்டு போறோம். அந்த வழக்கு நடந்த இடையில நாங்க பத்திரிகையில கூட நியூஸ் கொடுக்குறோம், இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு கேஸ் நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு, நீங்க வாங்க கலந்துக்கோங்க அப்படி சொல்றோம். பட் ஆனா அந்த நியூஸ் பேப்பருக்கு அவங்க யாருமே ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் பண்ணல. இதனிடையே கேஸ் நடந்துட்டே இருக்கும்போது போன மாசம் ஆக்சுவலி August 5 அன்னைக்கு எங்களுக்கு ஒரு அவார்டு ஆகும். அவார்ட்ல இந்த தொழிலாளர்கள் வேலை செய்வதற்கான உரிமையும் அதை பேக்வேஜ் பெறுவதற்கான உரிமையும் இருக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஆர்டர் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. ஆனா அந்த ஆர்டரை இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ணக்கூடிய அரசாங்கமும் முறையாக அது எந்த விஷயங்களும் எடுக்கல. அந்த நிர்வாகமும் இங்க இல்ல. யார் கேள்வி கேட்பது அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு குழப்பத்திலே இருக்கு. இப்ப நாங்க வந்து அதுக்கான பல போராட்டங்கள் எடுத்திருக்கோம். பல கமிஷனர் ஆபீஸ் முன்னாடி ப்ரொடெஸ்ட் பண்ணிருக்கோம், கம்பெனி முன்னாடி ப்ரொடெஸ்ட் பண்ணிருக்கோம், கலெக்டர் ஆபீஸ் முன்னாடி ப்ரொடெஸ்ட் பண்ணிருக்கோம்.
So actually the most important thing is that from 2019 December to January 2020, the union decided to take up the issue. They took it to the Department of Labor. However, the Department of Labor could not find any solution and the management simply disappeared. They did not even attend the conciliation proceedings, and so the conciliation proceedings was a failure. The case then was moved to the tribunal because the workers kept on pushing and asking for solutions. In the meantime, the PF was not being paid, and so the union put pressure on the PF department to recover the provident fund monies from the SLAM company, and to an extent that has been recovered to a limited extent. However, during this period, we find that there were our members, some of them who were pregnant. One of them, during these strikes and struggles, she actually had a miscarriage and lost the baby. There were workers whose parents had no money and they were old. They could not get their children married. They committed suicide. There was some of our members were very, very sick and they had no form of medical insurance, but somehow because of the collective strength of them, they have helped each other and they are staying in some form, at least trying to keep their lives together. Looking for other types of work in the villages, like there is 100 days employment, what they call the employment guarantee program, which gives 200 rupees a day for 100 days in a year. So in this context, many of our members are doing very, very small chores somehow to keep their hand in, also because the new Provident Fund rules where you have to have your identity and your, there is a Aadhaar card which gives you important identity without which you can't get a job. Now, if you are still attached to one company which has not closed down, you can't even get another job. So in such circumstances, even the government did not take responsibility. And finally, after the award, which says reinstate these 150 workers, the government has taken no steps whatsoever to identify where this company is, how much they owe the workers, or whether they can get reinstatement and back wages. So workers do not know where to go because the company no longer exists. We know that the company has an address in Hamburg. We know the company has production in Bulgaria or wherever else in Europe. But how do workers from India, from these little villages, most of our workers, 90% of them are women. 75% of our women are Dalit, from the Dalit community. So their own personal resources, many of them don't have their own house. Many of them are not able to send their children to school. Many of them are not even able to make, two ends meet. So these are the kind of people we are talking of today. And I'd like to stop here to say that has the celebrated global framework agreement which Zara and Inditex has with Industrial and all these things that we have taken these complaints all the way up to Zara, and they do not want to actually even have a dialogue with us. So I feel we have no way, we don't know where to take these issues, even as educated, well acquainted women who are leading this union. We do not know how to give a new direction to our members. How do we justify their poverty in old age after having worked for 10, 15 years in these factories? How do we justify the very, very low wages in SCZs, where even those low wages are not paid according to the law? So these are our challenges I just laid before this tribunal, and maybe we can take this further for a discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunjata, Palani, and also comrades at Garment and Fashion Workers Union for sharing your story of the women factory workers' condition. And thank you so much for all the hard work that you put through to make sure that women workers can access their rights. And of course, solidarity for you and all women factory workers in India. I also would like to remind all participants, if you have any questions, we are going to take them at the end of the panelist presentation. But of course, we have chat box, so feel free to drop those questions in the chat box and we can read them after the panelist presentations. Next, we will have Parmojibi Nari from Bangladesh. And in this today's sessions, we have Afrin that will represent Karmojibi Nari. Afrin, are you ready? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, I'm ready. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Today I want to talk about the informalization of trade unionism in different sectors of Bangladesh. ILO Convention on Freedom of Association and Collective Bargaining, as you know, ILO Convention 87 and 98, which were ratified in Bangladesh in 1972. In that context, the freedom of trade union practice of workers in Bangladesh has increased. Bangladesh jute industry once played a major role in exports. Trade unionism of workers in the jute industry was also widespread all over the country. But at present, the jute industry has stagnated due to various reasons, and trade union practice is not what it used to be. Currently, the ready-made garment industry in Bangladesh accounts for the lion's share of export earnings, and trade union practices and collective bargaining are somewhat prevalent in the sector. But the participatory committee can act as an alternative committee if the trade union expires in any factory. This committee is composed of employers and workers. In this case, it can be seen that the factory owners are more interested in continuing the participatory committee instead of forming the trade unions committee. Similarly, freedom of association is being violated in other sectors as well. The seafood industry is a major sector of labor in Bangladesh. It can be seen that the workers are not usually made contracted as permanent. They are appointed temporarily. As a result, workers don't get the opportunity to join at the factory of trade union. The law, if we see that in the law of special economic zone, it is the EPZ Labor Act 2009, it's called, states that trade unions cannot be formed there, and workers' welfare association can be formed instead of, which I think cannot be alternative of trade union. Actually, this committee exists is almost all the factories, but none of them are functional. And whether or not this committee is functioning is entirely at the discretion of the owner. The act also states that workers cannot join any kind of organization inside or outside the factory. On the other hand, if we look at the informal sector, there is a large share of domestic workers. Domestic workers are not recognized as workers under the Labor Act. They don't get any rights as workers, and they are even deprived of the right to organize where the policy is made for them, because there is no guidance in the policy regarding the practice of trade union. In this way, informalization practices are seen almost all sectors. And if we, Karmajivinari conducted some research, here we see that the conducted some formal sectors and for informal sectors. Here we see that the none of the sectors of workers are not aware, and none of sectors are aware about the trade unionism, freedom of association, and to practice how to bargain with their owners about their basic rights and their demands. So I think the unavailability of trade unions, unavailability of presence of trade union in the factory is a very much common scenario in Bangladesh. Okay, thank you. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you so much, Afrin, for your sharing, and also again, of course, for all the works that Karmoji Binari has done for a very long time right now to make sure that women workers, especially factory women workers, can get their rights. Lastly, we also have Dian from Indonesia that will also share things that they have been doing and also the conditions of women workers, especially during the unionizations in Indonesia. Hi, Kak Dian, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you. I'm Dian Sati from FSBTI. I'm the president of FSBTI. I want to share maybe similar, the condition of garment workers in Indonesia. Before the pandemic, maybe around 2019, a lot of manufacturers in Jakarta, or the capital of Indonesia, moved to regions, local regions in Indonesia, such as Central Java or West Java. And the company who left the workers mostly did not give any compensation, and that what had happened in our members 2019 when the company, the brand is H&M, Gap, left the workers without any compensation. They said that the company said that they had bankrupt, but actually they moved the manufacture to Jepara. It's a small town in Indonesia, and the wage was very cheap, and now still very cheap. It's about only maybe 1.1 million, yeah, 1.3 million, something like that. And in Jakarta, the minimum wage around 4 million. So the uneven wage among cities in Indonesia caused the company to move or relocation the manufacturer to Central Java. And the result, many workers did not get the right, in this case, compensation, because the company said it is bankrupt. So what we had done at that time, we occupied the manufacturer so that the company would not sell the production machine, yeah, because if the production machine, the machine came out or taken out from the manufacturer, then we did not have any guarantee for the compensation. It was about 4 months we occupied the manufacturer, and many workers did this strategy because there was no option at that time. And the company was in KPN Cakung. It's a garment sector, garment industrial park in North Jakarta. Previously, there were about 80 companies or 80 manufacturers, but now it's only 10 manufacturers because a lot of manufacturers relocate the manufacturer to Central Java or West Java. And the situation is getting worse during pandemic because the pandemic caused the wage theft, and also the government support the company by giving zero tax, and the minimum wage has not been raised. There were 3 times that the minimum wage allowed to be delayed, or to be cut about 50%. And mostly the garment workers are women workers, and I think it's a kind of sexist, yeah, or by gender bias that resulted the feminization of poverty. And now, when the omnibus law has been legalized, the low wage politics then become legal in Indonesia. For example, in 2021, the wage only raised about 1.09%. So it's only 1%. And Central Java is become the lowest wage in Indonesia, and that's why the manufacturers one by one or massive relocation to Central Java, and it resulted the drop of domestic consumption of workers' family for about more than 10%, based on the research of AFWA, Asian for Wage Alliance. And after now, the rate of gasoline, the full price raise, the consumption of the consumption of workers' family dropped until 30%. And now the government develop the narrative that the society uh, should change to electricity, not using gasoline anymore to cook. So using electricity. It's like nonsense because the electricity also the price getting higher, and that's what happened. And now that the low wage become the strategy of the government and also the companies to pressure the workers so that the workers only just subsystem, yeah. How we just work for only one day life, for example, because the status of workers contracts mostly in Indonesia, the contracts are maybe similar with another country. In Asia, the contract is only 1 month or 20 days or 30 days, and it's getting worse. So what should we do? The brand should be, I think the brand in this case should have a responsibility because they are the ones who have the capital and they enjoy or consume the profit, take the profit from the garment workers who are mostly women workers, and for many decades before pandemic until the pandemic, the garment workers or women workers work in long hours, and also the gender-based violence and also the double burdens. And I think pandemic situation is not the reason, cannot be the reason to cut the wage of garment workers. And we should see the problems more holistic and inclusive, that the low wage at the same time it's also the gender-based violence. So gender-based violence is like embodied in the system, the wage system that oppress women in many aspects. For example, our body, the women's body, also record and memorize the violence that happen in the workplace and also at home. So it's like that. We face experience many layers of violence in our life, and I think this one should be considered by the movement, women movement, workers movement, and also the civil society. That this is not the problem. It is not only the problem of workers, but also the problem of the society. And also we have to have a solidarity among us to demand to the brand and also the consumers in the global south that the clothes that we consume resulted by the workers, the women workers who are oppressed in their whole life, and we have to struggle, like we have to defend our life day by day. And the global movement is very important and significant, so that it will create the strong movement to get the rights and take the brand on the table to have a collective bargaining with us, with the workers. That's, I think, become the challenge for us to start the struggle, so that we can we can get the right. Thank you very much. I think that's all my presentation.
Thank you so much, Dian, for sharing the struggles that you are facing also, things that you have been doing in Indonesia. And again, you were mentioning about omnibus law. I'm also Indonesian, so this is also something that I myself very invested in terms of, like discussing and also advocating against the omnibus law. So thank you so much for that. We have right now, we are entering the questions and answer sessions. I think we have one questions on the chat box, but I think before I read the questions on the chat box, is there anybody who would like to open their microphone and also ask the questions directly to our amazing collaborators right now? I see Hazel raising her hand. Hazel? Are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi, Vivi. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. My name is Hazel Birunji. I work with Euro Asia Pacific, but I'm based in Uganda. For those of you who don't know, Uganda is a country in East Africa, in Africa. So it has been very insightful listening to how everyone is working, how they're organizing and unionizing, despite the challenges. When we listened to the lady that talked about how they had to wait a long time for the injunction to come. And my question is, how have you managed to sustain these unions? How have you got the workers to join? Because I come from a country where unions used to be strong at one point, but as time has evolved, they've been weakened by different things. So now we just hear of, oh, this union used to exist, this union used to exist, but they don't exist anymore. So I want to learn from you on how you have managed to sustain the to sustain these unions, and how have you kept the members interested in continuing to be part of the unions? That's my question. Thank you, Vivi.
Thank you, Hazel, for your questions. I would like now to give the floor to our amazing collaborators here. Maybe Sunjata and Palani would like to go first answering that question. You're still muted, Sunjata. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, there you go. Now I can hear you clearly.
Palani has put some kind of drama around me. I'm a bit embarrassed. Okay. So it is difficult to sustain the union. There is no incentive for workers to join the union, and in fact, there is a counter prevailing pressure on workers not to be in the union. So those who are in the union are struggling, are putting in special efforts. But I would say from our union side, one, we build social relations. The members are tied to each other because of their friendships, for the bringing camaraderie. Also, the unions don't only deal with labor issues, we deal with all kinds of issues, from family or catastrophe, or even their local issues. We take up issues of transport, in some places of water supply. So those are the kind of other ways in which we also keep working with women. We go beyond our effort to build a kind of connect, because we don't think that the trade union is only for bargaining wages. For us, the trade union is a school for learning for ourselves and for them. So we are continuously meeting them, and we are asking them to come and meet us. We are also, in the case of SLAM, we did not know, we lost everything for them, but yet about 10 or 15 of them have come forward to build organize their own village women, to bring them into union, and to build unions of all women workers, not just for garment. So we keep on working, whether it's domestic work or it is the women working in the rural sector. So it is very difficult, as a sister from Jivinari said, Afreen, it is impossible to build unions. It is impossible to hold our membership. But it is only the biggest challenge is to keep on building relationships and creating bonds and creating collective struggles on various issues. And that is, I would say, one of the ways we sustain ourselves.
Thank you so much, Sunjata. Afrin and also Dian, do you also want to answer the question from Hazel in terms of how you have been sustaining the movement there in Indonesia and also in Bangladesh? I see already open the microphone. Go ahead, Dian.
Okay. How we unionize the workers, especially women workers. Yeah. I will share specifically how to organize, unionize women workers. I think in our experience, we use the gender lens to understand the problem of women workers, because the problem is very complex, not only how the condition in workplace, but also the personal problems of women workers at home, and their experience with their body, their experience with personal life, when they grow up as women. Gender lens becomes like the tool to analyze the problems, the specific problems of women workers. In our experience, it's very useful. Yeah, it's very useful because then we are like have a connection, yeah, connected one each other, because we understand as women. But also it's also a challenge at the same time, because we have to ready to advocate not only the problem in the workplace, but also the problem at home. For example, the domestic violence and the and many violence, yeah, not only in workplace. And we then understand that the scope of violence, the workplace, is not only in the manufacturer, but also the work field is also at home, on the road, on the way from home to the workplace. It's also the one scope of work, yeah. And Convention ILO 190 also help us to understand that the problems now, because of the flexibility, market flexibility, cause the problems in working relation is very mixed, very mixed, yeah. Not only in the manufacturer, and then we understand that all women are also workers. So when we ready to listen the problems of women workers, then at the same time they will being comfortable with us in the union. So the union should become the safe place and also safe rooms for women workers to speak up. That I agree that the union become the school for workers to learn about themselves, to learn about the problem, and then to participate, to free themselves as humans. And this is the tool. This is the purpose or the objective of the union. Why the workers need the union. If the union exists for workers, especially in this case women workers, solve the problems and to invite them, to inform them in the process of the struggle, and then they will get it. They will really into it. And at the same time, when they need the union, they will struggle for the union. They will develop, involve the development of the union. I think it's not like there is no blueprint in organizing workers because the situation is so dynamic and changes, and it's like we should learn day by day, and also read the reality of women workers very to learn and read the reality in detail. So it's like we have to listen carefully and also be patient, and then we learn together with the women workers, and yeah, we need the union. That's the point, and also how to participate together and together in learning, and also being innovative in solving the problem. I think that's the point. And less bureaucracy. I think it's also important how to be less bureaucracy and more egalitarian, egalitarian in building the union. So the culture of equality, being egalitarian, is important in this situation in the union, so that union bring something different from the society that treat women discriminatively. So it's like union bring the new of the alternative culture that different with the society or the country or the state that treat women or women workers differently. So it's like that's the place that women workers can find their safe place to express what they want and what really they like to struggle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kadian, for the answer. I really like the last part when you were mentioning about, like how even in our daily life, being a woman is not easy, and then how, the union itself has become such a safe space for like women to be able to even expressing themselves. So that is such an amazing way to take a look at how, like why it is so sustained. So thank you so much for that insight. Hazel, do you have any other like follow-up questions, or that those are enough? I'm also noticing that Afrin needs to leave because she has another engagement. So we now already we have Zunjata, Palani, and also Dian with us right now. Hazel, do you have any follow-up questions, or those answers are okay?
No follow-up questions for me, Vivi. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the questions, Hazel. We have one questions on the chat box right now, which is from Kate from Jakarta Feminist. I think this is also related to the discussions when we are mentioning about, the global efforts and also the global advocacy itself. The question will be, is there a country or region that the speakers think does a better job of protecting women workers' rights, or a country that we should be holding up as an example? If so, what does that country do differently to your home country? This is a very interesting question. Yeah, so maybe Kadian, do you want to answer that questions first? Do you have any, like maybe reflections when you were talking about global advocacy? Maybe not specifically just a country, or probably some kind of law that you also notice from other countries that being implemented that really helps the improvement of women workers' situations.
Maybe maybe other speakers we can speak first.
Okay, Sujata and Falani, do
I
you
just
have
want
any?
to share.
Okay.
country has better laws for women. One, I would say that I've always seen that the Australia has significantly more active women's organizations, and even in their government, they have people who are more open to women's issues. I attended the CSO in 2013. I felt that of all the representatives from Asia Pacific, the most proactive were the Australian government and their representatives. They were more in tune with the people, women's organizations. So there seems to be better understanding between women's organizations, trade unions on one side, and the government institutions in countries like Australia. And I would say that even in countries like Spain, in some European countries, there seem to be at least some form of provision where law is implemented. Whereas in countries like India, there is no legal protection, even though we have a lot of laws. These laws are impossible to implement. I think the same, what I say is true of Bangladesh, Pakistan. The situation is not different for most of us in the Asian countries. I know that sisters in Thailand also have been fighting closure. In Philippines also we have, huge struggles against companies who do not honor the law of the land. So I think we really need to learn a lot from some of the Western European countries and Australia.
Thank you so much, Sunjata, for the answers. At the end, do you want to say anything? Do you want to answer the question?
Yet to, not yet.
All right, that's okay. Thank you so much for, thank you so much, Sunjata. And I think that's kind of also, it's hard, right, to pick a country up, because I feel like there's no country that actually has like a very good policy in terms of protecting women's workers, especially. So yeah, so I just would like to go back to the floor again in terms of if there's any other questions that you would like to ask our speakers right now. We have Sunjata, Palani, and also Dian here with us right now. Is there anybody else who would like to ask the question? If not, I will ask the question. All right, so maybe like my questions would be, because I think within the Global Tribunal itself, this is one of the things where we tried, I think the global community, especially women in the global south, tried to provide this kind of platform for us to be able to advocate all of the issues that women workers are facing. So not, of course, not only women workers in the factory or even the union itself, but in many sectors of where women are actually existing, right? So talking about the global advocacy itself, I just would like to ask Sunjata and also Dian, what do you expect from global community? How can we support and also like supporting the cost and also the issues of things that you are working on, especially because we came from various different countries and also different background. So if you have any insights on that in terms of how we can continue supporting your cause, please feel free to to explain. Thank you. Maybe from Dian first.
Yeah, I think we need to explore what kind of global solidarity that we should take together. We should take action together to campaign about the living wage and about the situation in global south, especially for women workers or garment workers. Um, that the innovation of global action in the situation like this during pandemic. I think we need to more harder, stronger global campaign for the situation in women workers, such as the GBV, gender-based violence, and also the dismissal of workers by the companies, by the brand, that can bring the brand to take responsibility. Or maybe we need to have a common or joint action. We need to explore the strategy together to have a stronger strategy how to solve this problem so that there will be any collective bargaining, global collective bargaining for the brand to take responsibility, because until now we have some progress. I think like H&M who have a agreement with the workers, something like that. But I still we need to continually have strategies that to renew the strategies and also consolidation in global movement to create our common strategy or joint strategy. I think that's the origin thing that we can do for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dian, Sunjata, and also Palani. Do you also want to answer the questions in terms of what we can do more in terms of supporting the cause of, especially of things that you have been doing in India?
Actually, today women are working in factories and in the service sector, and we have workers everywhere. If we are talking of the global supply chain, there should be rules and regulations which should apply for workers in the global supply chain, which are the same for workers in the industries in the West. The idea that women in the third world and in developing countries require less or are unequal or do not have the same capacities, that inequality has to be challenged. The second thing, I think we as a community should raise the issues in the UN, in the highest council like the Human Rights Council. Human rights violations are on an everyday basis when they don't have wages or when they don't have food or when they're unable to take their children to hospital or their parents. So women's human rights are being undermined every second. You cannot only treat them as, okay, go to the ILO, or you go to CEDAW, or you go to CSO. We need to treat women as equal partners. And therefore, our struggles have to be to somehow raise our issues and make them central. Now, they make SGDs, they make rules, they make MGDs, they make many, many ideas, but these are only left in bureaucracies. How do we see how do we see a new world? How far is it? I mean, I know I'm saying something which is, may sound like it's very unreal, but how do we make people real in the present? How do we make the governments and the UN to listen to us in the present? How do we bring the change, not just in 20 years or 30 years? So that is what our question is. How do they envisage a law that a country can come and produce in our country and go away, leaving people poorer? So these kind of things, there should be tribunals which come to solve these issues. It's not only that we need to go to, an international tribunal should have the right to enforce law. The European Union is today protecting recalcitrant employers who collect their money and go and live in England and Europe, and they run away from India. I'm sure that happens in Bangladesh and Indonesia and Cambodia and everywhere. So they have safe havens for and for non-taxpayers. They are just generating wealth and not allowing a uniform development of the world. And this is a big challenge for us. It affects every woman, it affects every life, and there is the Europeans claim that they have equality. I'm sorry, they are not anywhere creating equality in the world. They continue a new form of colonization. And I think we, as social action groups and trade unions, need to question them.
Thank you so much, Sunjata, for that is a very powerful, speech that you just, when you answer the questions. I completely agree with you. I think, again, like a lot of discussions surrounding equality, especially within the women workers, even in the highest level of, international bodies such as UN, has been left women out of the discussions. So thank you so much for bringing that up. We still have like another 30 minutes for us to go. I'm just going to ask the floor again. Is there any questions that you would like to ask our speakers here right now? We have Sunjata, Palani, and also Dian here with us. So is there any questions from our participants today? Yes, Bree, I see that you raise your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, hello, and thank you to everybody for the very important and both presentations as well as the very important observations in answer to the questions. One of the things I was thinking while listening to everybody was that the freedom to organize, the freedom to of association within the sector of the work sector or within the workplace is also related to the closing of civil society space in the wider society. So I'm coming from Sri Lanka, where right now there's a huge clampdown on dissent, just civil society dissent, and student protests are being attacked by the police, and students are being water cannoned and arrested, and all sorts of things are happening, and security zones are being set up and all of that. And I would think that many countries in the world today, there is a kind of hand-holding between capitalism and authoritarianism, and both of those are sort of leading to this kind of closing this space for civil society in general. And in that space, the space for women's organizing becomes even more challenging. So I just wanted to make that observation and say, that makes it even more important for the kind of solidarity that you wanted, that you propose that we have globally to happen, because that is what we can collectively challenge when even the situation in our local situation becomes really violent and difficult to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Pri, for that observations and also insight from your end. Thank you so much, everyone, for the participations, of course, and also discussion surrounding it. But after what Pri mentions, I just would like to ask again, as Sunjata and also Pian, do you want to respond to that, or just nodding in agreement? Yeah, I also completely agree with what Pri said. Yeah, do you have any response to the statement that Pri was saying earlier? Yes, Sunjata, I see that you open your mic.
There is no shortcut right now. I mean, what is happening in Sri Lanka is actually, we are all watching it from close by, and we don't even know how we as citizens of another country can support them. We are under attack in our own country today. It's difficult to protest. It's difficult, like, even if we protest, we are also arrested. Here, the protests are far more subdued now, and people are attempting to, take lead by collectively protesting. I think as feminists, we have to find new ways. We know that in Iran there are protests, in Sri Lanka there are protests. Everywhere I can see, I mean, ordinary people are facing a huge challenge. How are we going to bring these governments who are now today united against the people? They are certainly together. We know that. And where does the challenge? How do people like us help Sri Lankan workers and students and women? How do we support their struggles? These are our challenges. I think by building our own struggles, by strengthening our own battles and strengthening our own leadership and education of our people.
Thank you, Sunjata, and also thank you so much for showing solidarity to everybody else, especially when we're talking about Sri Lanka as well. Pri, do you want to respond to that, or?
Well, I just want to say that thank you. That's all. I mean, it's. I think we are also watching, and we also don't know what to do. So I think maybe, yeah. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think it's a lifelong questions, right? Like what to do, what's next, what we can do better and stuff like that. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sunjata. And also thank you, Dian. I just would like to ask one more question. Is there any other questions? Because we still have time. If not, then I just would like to say thank you to everyone who has been joining us since the very beginning of the discussion up until now. And also thank you so much, Sunjata, Palani, and also Dian. But before I wrap up, I just would like to give the floor to Dian and also Sunjata and Palani again to say like a sentence or two in terms of to close the sessions, basically like a closing statement for us to kind of conclude the discussions. I would like to give it to Dian first to give her closing statement for the discussion.
Yeah, respond to Sri Lanka situation, and also we know about the situation in Myanmar. I think in solidarity action, we know that democracy democracy is very important, because if there is no democracy, there is no equality also, we cannot survive or fight against the oppression. And I think it's urgent, yeah. For example, what happened in Philippines also, when the dictatorship can gain the power again. We need more stronger solidarity, maybe the joint action, global action, global protests in our countries to support the movement in the countries that under dictatorship and military that was attack the movement. Besides the struggle for global supply chain, I think it's related one each other. It's also a challenge. What we have to do? I think it's like sometimes just do it. So sometimes we need to what can we do now? What kind of solidarity? And if we have just do it yourself, not do it yourself, just do it gitu. Maybe we can start a strategic meeting, something like that, because of the urgent situation in each country in global south. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kadian, for the closing statement. I would like to give Sunjata and also Palani and also maybe anybody else at your office right now. I'm assuming that you were speaking from your office. Go ahead, Sunjata.
I think Palani wants to say something, and I'm just translating what she says. She's saying that we as women who are part of the international struggles of women workers, we must take these issues to UN bodies, and we should take the Sri Lankan women's questions to or Myanmar or Iran, wherever there are very, very strong movements. We have to take them up, and we must give our voice and support them internationally as well. That's what Palani said.
Thank you so much, Palani, for that very important closing statement. Thank you so much, Sunjata, for also, sharing your stories, sharing your struggles, and also hopefully one of the things that we are aiming to do within the Global Tribunal itself is to definitely give more platforms for this kind of issues to be able to be more visible, especially within the higher, level of international organizations and also the stakeholders itself. So thank you so much for, we had Afrin earlier with us as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Sunjata, Palani, and everybody in India, and also Dian in Indonesia. Thank you so much for all of the participants and all of the tech team behind the CSO-led discussion today. So thank you so much for, joining us on this fourth day of the Global Tribunal, especially on the CSO-led discussions. So now I'm just going to formally close the discussions. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. And I just would like to remind everyone that we still have the 8 hearing sessions, that today the thematics issue is on on freedom of associations, collective bargaining, and rights of unionizations. So once again, thank you, and I hope to see you again on the second, the last hearing sessions of today's Global Tribunal. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.